Demons in the Streets of New York by the Confused Camper. It was just another ordinary evening in New York City, or at least that's what Emily thought. The streets were bustling with the usual crowds of pedestrians, honking taxis, and the low hum of city life. The skyscrapers loomed like silent sentinels, their windows reflecting the fading glow of the setting sun. But something was off. The air felt heavy, as if the city itself was holding its breath. Emily, a journalist, had been covering the usual beat that day: human interest stories, crime reports, and the occasional political scandal. But tonight she had a strange feeling, a sense of unease that prickled her skin. She finished up her last interview, walking down 6th Avenue toward the subway. She didn't know why she felt it. Maybe it was the eerie silence that had fallen over the street, but something wasn't right. She glanced around. People walked past her, faces blank, eyes vacant. But there was an odd sense of tension in the air, like the city was waiting for something. And then she saw them. At first, it was just a flicker at the edge of her vision, shadows darting between the alleyways, figures that seemed to flicker in and out of existence. She thought she was seeing things, her exhaustion from a long day of reporting clouding her mind. But as she turned the corner, she saw them clearly. Demons. They were not the grotesque, fiery creatures from folklore, nor the horned beasts from Hollywood movies. These demons were something far worse. Their skin was sickly gray, their eyes hollow and black, as though the light itself was consumed by them. They were humanoid, but twisted. Long limbs, crooked spines, jagged teeth that gleamed in the dark. They moved with an unnatural grace, like predators stalking their prey. Emily froze, her breath catching in her throat. She backed into a nearby doorway, trying to hide from their gaze. Her heart pounded in her chest, and she could feel the bile rise in her throat. They were everywhere now, creeping through the streets, blending into the shadows like they were born from the city's very fabric. A scream echoed from somewhere further down the street, followed by the unmistakable sound of someone running. But no one else seemed to notice the demons. Pedestrians continued walking, heads down, not a single soul looking up. One of the demons, tall with skin as black as tar, moved toward a group of people standing at a street corner, their faces a blank mask of indifference. Emily's heart raced as she saw the demon reach out, its fingers curling like claws. The people didn't flinch. The demon's hand gripped one of them by the shoulder, and in an instant the man's body contorted violently, his skin cracking like brittle paper. He screamed, but it was a distorted, guttural sound that didn't quite sound human. His body began to fold in on itself as the demon's grip tightened, his bones snapping like twigs. But the crowd, they didn't react. They just kept walking. Emily's mind spun. She had to do something. She pulled out her phone, but the screen went black. Her fingers trembled as she tried again, but there was no signal, no connection. The demons were in control now, erasing the boundaries between the real world and their own twisted dimension. Panic surged through her as she stumbled backward, her legs giving way beneath her. She couldn't breathe. The weight of something terrible was pressing down on her chest, choking the air from her lungs. She glanced down the street and saw more demons emerging from the shadows, their mouths stretching into wicked smiles. They weren't just feeding on fear. They were feeding on the very souls of the city. They were claiming it, piece by piece, turning New York into their playground. The city's heartbeat, the hum of life, was slowly fading, drowned out by the demon's guttural whispers. Then, one of the demons turned its gaze toward her. For a moment, it didn't move. Its black eyes met hers, and she could feel the weight of its stare sink deep into her bones. She heard its voice, not in her ears, but deep inside her mind. "You're not supposed to see us." Emily's blood ran cold, and she knew, deep down, that it wasn't just talking to her. It was talking to everyone in the city. to all of them who had been blind to the horrors hiding in plain sight. The demon took a slow step toward her, its footfalls echoing in the still night air. She wanted to scream, to run, but her body betrayed her, frozen in place. The air thickened, every shadow a potential threat. And then, just as suddenly as it had started, the demon lunged. Its claws dug into her skin, pulling her toward its mouth, its grotesque teeth glistening like razors. She struggled, but its grip was unrelenting. In that moment, as her world spun into darkness, she understood. The demons had always been there, lurking in the cracks of the city, waiting for the right moment to slip through the seams of reality. New York, for all its lights and noise, had always been their domain, and now the streets were theirs to claim. Thanks for watching, and please hit the like and subscribe buttons for more stories.